Hi, welcome to my board game channel, Will of the Meeple, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up and play Distilled by Paverson Games. Now before I start, I'd just like to say if you find this video or any of my other videos useful, please consider subscribing as this will help massively. So Distilled is a 1 to 5 player game where players distill spirits from all around the world and then sell them to earn money. The game consists of 7 rounds and takes roughly half an hour per player, so for 5 players that'll be 2.5 hours. So first of all, let's look at the setup. First of all, we'll place our shelf board out. This is used to keep track of the points, keep track of the rounds, and also store the spirit labels. Next, place down the basic market board and add the basic market cards to it. Next, we're going to do the premium market. Now, I've got the playmat here. If you don't have the playmat, just lay the cards out in the same style as I've got them down here. And then you need to reveal the top 4 cards off each stack. Then place the truck next to the premium market. This is used for any discard cards. Now place the flavours and the alcohol cards in reach of all players, and also the money holder and the recipe cube holder. Give each player a tasting flight. For the first game it's recommended that you use set A. Now that you've selected a tasting flight, you can place the relevant spirit labels on the shelf board. You need to place 1 label per spirit per player, apart from vodka and moonshine when you place 2 labels per spirit per player. So for a 2-player game, we'll have 2 of every label, apart from moonshine and vodka, which we'll have 4 of. Randomly select spirit awards equal to the number of players plus 1. So in a 2-player game, we would use 3. Now it's time for the player area setup. Give each player a player board and a recipe clipboard, which will hold the testing flight card they received earlier. Each player also receives starting items of a metal barrel and a glass bottle, which go in the storeroom. Choose the first player, either randomly or the person that last went in a distillery, and give them the first player token. Now, give each player 2 distiller identity cards. You can only use distiller identity cards that are paired with the testing flight card that you have selected. See page 18 and 19 of the rulebook for more information. Each player then selects one of the identities and returns the other to the box. Players now receive a signature recipe relevant to their distiller, and also a signature ingredient that can be used when making their spirit. Check the reverse of the distiller identity card for the starting items and money. As we can see, Mother Mary starts with 3 money, 1 yeast and 1 water. The yeast and the water can go in the pantry. And now the distiller identity card can go in the office. Also take the player token based on the symbol on the right hand side of the distillery and place it next to the shelf board. This will be used for scoring. You can also place the barrel, which is used for tracking rounds, on the round 1 symbol. Give each player 3 distillery gold cards each. These should be kept secret from the other players. At the end of round 3 we will be discarding one of these and you will be working towards completing the other 2. Once you've completed your setup, your table should look something like this. However, you may have more than 1 player board. Okay, so that's the setup complete, and now it's time to look at the gameplay aspect. The game consists of 7 rounds and each round has 4 phases. So before we go into the details of each phase, we'll just do a quick rundown of what each phase consists of. So the first phase is the market phase. In the market phase, players will be able to buy items from the market and the premium market, as well as recipe cubes, which will allow them to make different kinds of alcohol. Any ingredients bought will then go into your pantry, and then we move on to the distill phase. In the distill phase, you will take items from your pantry and you will use them to actually distill your alcohol. Now, the alcohol you distill depends on the cards that you draw. You may have the ingredients there to distill a cachaça, but in the distill phase you actually remove the top and bottom card, so there's no guarantees that what you're planning on distilling you actually can distill because you need specific sugars to be able to distill each alcohol. Once you've distilled your spirit, we can move on to phase 3, which is the sell phase. And in this phase you can sell the alcohol that you've just distilled, and you can also sell any spirits that you've distilled in previous rounds that are currently aging in your warehouse. Then we have a phase 4, which is the aging phase. This is where any alcohol that's currently sat in your warehouse gains a flavour, so it's aged for another year. Then we start the next round. So let's take a closer look at the market phase. Before we do the market phase, we need to do the start of round actions. These are signified by the green symbol, and as you can see, the distiller Jacqueline Booker allows you to add 1 water or 1 yeast to your pantry, whereas the distillery upgrade Biochemist allows you to add 1 yeast to your pantry. Do any start of round actions at the beginning of each round before the market phase. In the market phase, players take it in turns, starting with the first player, to buy an item or an ingredient from either the basic market or the premium market. The premium market also includes distillery upgrades which are available to buy. Please note that players can only purchase 2 items from the basic market per round. To make any kind of spirit you need at least 1 yeast and 1 water. Let's take a quick look at the tasting flight to see what you need to make each spirit. First of all, you need to buy the recipe. To do this, you can buy a recipe cube that matches the colour on the board and place it in the square next to the recipe you want to make. The symbol on the left shows the region the drink is from. This is relevant for some of the spirit awards. The top row shows which sugars you need. Each drink needs a specific sugar, apart from vodka, which can be made with any, or moonshine, which requires no sugar. Directly under that, you can see the type of barrel required, metal, wooden or clay. And the egg timer symbol means that the spirit must be aged at least 1 round before being able to sell it. We can also see how much money and points you will receive when you sell your spirit. Note that only vodka and moonshine produce money, all other drinks just produce points, however you will still receive money and possibly extra points from the cards you use in your spirit stack. Because we've already started with 1 yeast and 1 water, we really only need 1 sugar to make vodka. However, if you can add extra yeast and water, this will be beneficial because you're going to be removing the top and bottom card at the distill phase. So the more cards you can have in your stack, the less chance of you removing the sugars. So for this turn, we would buy a yeast. Now if you look on the card, when you buy a yeast, you actually gain 1 money. So we'll do that. And then play would pass over to the next player. Then, on our next turn, we're going to gain a sugar. So we're going to buy the mixed grains because this is actually free, and we'll pop that in our pantry. Player would then move on to player 2, and then when it comes back to player 1, we're actually going to pass. You can pass at any time, but once you've passed, you're not allowed to join back in for that round. As mentioned previously, you can also buy items or ingredients from the premium market, but for the round 1, we're just going to make some vodka, which will earn us some money. So, the distill phase. First of all, we take all the ingredients we want to use from the pantry, and we place them in the wash bag. So the sugars go in the middle, where the sugar symbol is. The yeast goes at the top, where the yeast symbol is, and the water goes at the bottom, under the water symbol. Then, for every sugar that we've added, we also add 1 alcohol card. Now, take the stack and give them a good shuffle. And then we're going to remove the top and the bottom card. So unfortunately, we've removed our sugar. So now our spirit stack contains no sugars, which means by default we're going to have to make moonshine. The cards that you remove go back into your pantry. You can use those in later rounds. And then you need to take your barrel and pop it on your stack. Now, if this was a spirit stack that you were going to age, it would go into your warehouse, but it's not, so we'll keep hold of it and we'll move on to the sell phase as soon as we've grabbed our label. So we're going to grab a moonshine label and place it on top of our stack. Now we can move on to phase 3, which is the sell phase. In the sell phase, first of all, we're going to take money. So look at your stack and see how much money this produces. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then looking at the tasting flight, moonshine produces 2 money. So for this drink, we receive 5 money. Next, we'll look at points. None of these cards contain points. However, looking at the tasting flight, moonshine produces 1 point. So we'll move our marker 1 space up the point tracker. Now, any starting items go back into your storeroom, and then the other cards go back onto the relevant stacks. If you used any premium items or ingredients, these actually go into the lorry next to the premium market. Finally, we need to decide where we're going to put our label. So we have the spaces across the top of the board. 7 spaces altogether. Each space you can either take 2 points or the bonus stated on the space. We can take 5 money. We can move our signature ingredient to our pantry. We can discard 1 card from our pantry and take 1 card from the truck. Now there are no cards in the truck at the moment, but later on in the game there will be. We can take 1 free ingredient. We can take 1 free recipe cube. We can take 1 free item. Or we can take 1 free upgrade. These are all from the premium market, and you get to choose any of the ones that are out on display. So for now we're going to place our moonshine label on the first square, which gets us another 5 money. Having money at the start of the game is always beneficial because it allows you to buy items or ingredients from the premium market, as well as recipe cubes. Now we will move on to the age phase. Now we don't currently have anything aging in our warehouse. However, if we did, we will take 1 flavour card and place it under the bottom of the spirit stack. And that's the end of the round. Now we check the spirit rewards to see if anybody's completed any of those, and we discard the rightmost card of the premium market, move all the other cards along a space, and draw 1 new card in the left space. So one last thing to cover is the signature recipes. Each distiller identity comes with their own unique recipe that can be produced at any time. The back of the label will show the requirements for the spirit. As we can see here, Jacqueline Booker's recipe requires 3 grain sugars, one of which must be corn. It goes in a wooden barrel and it must be aged. It will earn a whopping 18 points and 1 money. Each distiller also comes with a signature ingredient that can be used when distilling the signature recipe. To use this, it must be in your pantry. To get the signature ingredient into your pantry, you must place a spirit label on the second space across the top of your board. Using the signature ingredient will earn you more points than using the premium ingredients, and the other benefit of using the signature ingredient is that if it's removed in the distill phase, you can return it back to the stack. Once you've completed your signature recipe, move the label from your clipboard onto the stack, as you would do with a normal spirit. And that is how you set up and play Distilled by Paverson Games. Now the Kickstarter for this has just been delivered, and if you're unfortunate enough not to have backed it, you will be able to pick up a copy of the game at UK Games Expo in June at the NEC in Birmingham. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see my latest videos.